The ability to regulate your emotions is the biggest determining factor in your happiness in life. It will determine your professional success, the success of your relationships, and your overall health and well-being. So how do we learn emotional regulation? Oh, we're supposed to learn it from our parents? Like they're supposed to model it for us? Well, if you're like me, that's out the window. So you have to learn it as an adult. I learned it through yoga and meditation, and I'm still working on it. But this comment sums it up so perfectly that when parents witness a lack of emotional regulation in their children, they often point the finger at the children. But the truth is, if you are around an adult who is constantly losing their shit, that is going to be the way that you handle problems in your life. If you are around adults that can regulate their own emotions, you are gonna see how to do that. So a lot of these dysregulated behaviors often come from a lack of parental modeling. If you're interested in learning how to regulate as an adult, follow me.
This and tell me why you think some parents are so offended by that message.
I think the number one reason that people do not like gentle and respectful parenting is they think that it turns over power and control to the child. People hear the word gentle and they think no boundaries, no consequences. Gentle and respectful parenting actually fall under authoritative parenting. That parenting style has both high acceptance but also high accountability. But most of us were raised in authoritarian parenting homes where there was very high accountability, a lot of expectations for us, but there was very low acceptance for things like our behavior, our feelings, our needs. And we got so used to our parents exercising power and control that now we mistake compliance for respect. A lot of parents walking around thinking that if they've exercised enough power and control to get their children to comply with them, that they've made them respect them. You cannot make someone respect you. The very definition of respect is to admire or hold in high esteem. I don't know anybody that's ever felt that way over someone that's micromanaged them. If we truly want to teach our children respect, we need to start modeling it to them instead of demanding it from them.
A lot of the time, the pressure that we feel surrounding our emotions and other people's emotions is due to the fact that we've been taught by our parents that our emotions are not just our own, that they're a reflection of them in a way, but also that there's something to be approved of or denied, just something to be validated or invalidated. And so we feel so scared to display our emotions because we don't want them to be invalidated, but also we don't know how it feels to just have our emotions be our own and not taken on by anyone else or taken personally by anyone else. And so in order to get rid of the pressure, we have to create boundaries around our feelings.
You won't ask your child to stop being happy, so why would you ask them to stop being sad or scared? Shouldn't all emotions have an equal right to be because they're all valid? Yeah. When we're not allowed to feel an emotion, when it's dismissed, pushed away, or ignored, it's only left unresolved and in fact lingers longer. So replace "don't be scared" with "it's okay to feel scared. Everyone feels that way sometimes. Take your time. I think you'll feel better soon." Or "why are you upset? It's not a big deal" with "I can see this is upsetting. Doesn't feel good. Let me know when you feel better. You will soon."
However you validate, just make sure that you're identifying that feeling for your child. That really made you sad, didn't it? I can see that really hurt. I can see you feel kind of left out. Your body's having a really hard time right now. I understand that you're sad we have to leave the playground. It can be really hard sitting in the car seat sometimes. Oh, I know you really like that toy and you're really sad that you can't have it.
Now, I love this. This is so good. This is something that we actually do in my house. The other day, I just heard my daughter say to the 3-year-old, "It's not okay, but I forgive you." Y'all, boundary crossing is not okay. And I never tell my kids that they should say it's okay when somebody crosses their boundaries. You can forgive somebody and still acknowledge that what they did is not okay and it's not acceptable and that you're not going to accept it in the future. I think this is so, so powerful. So I'm so glad that she added this because we definitely do this at my house.
We are on the topic of behaviors versus needs on my parenting page today. As a parent, have you ever thought to yourself, how can I stop my child from fill in the blank? Or how can I get my child to fill in the blank? That is behavior-based thinking, and it is the problem for a lot of parents because we are trying to control our child's behavior. Even if we are talking kindly, even if we're trying to be more gentle, we're trying to connect with them more emotionally, we're trying to do this whole gentle parenting thing. If we are still focused on their behavior and we are still trying to stop the bad behavior without seeing the root need behind that behavior, we are doing ourselves and themselves a disservice. I'm going to use an adult scenario as an example for this. Have you ever been hangry? When you've been hangry, have you ever snapped at your husband or your kids? Hunger is actually one of the 5 basic needs. It falls under the need for survival. When our basic needs are challenged or threatened or they go unmet, we act out, even as adults. So imagine for a second that your husband comes to you and says, that is absolutely unacceptable. You need to go spend some time in your room and you're not going to eat until you get a better attitude. How would you respond to that? Would that help you calm down? I don't think so. However, if your husband came to you and said, hey, I can see a need here and I want to help you, you'd have a totally different reaction. If we can start to see behavior in ourselves, even as a form of communication, and we stop holding our children to a higher standard than we're holding ourselves, because a lot of us as parents do that. A lot of our parents did that to us, and so we're now passing it on. And if we can break that cycle and we can start to see behavior for what it actually is, communication, that is when we start to see massive changes in our parenting, and that is when we can start to identify the root needs. A lot of you did ask about the 5 basic needs. I talk about these extensively in my ebook. They are based on Dr. William Glasser's choice theory. He is a psychiatrist, and they are absolutely mind-blowing and phenomenal, and they are so helpful in parenting. So I hope that this is helpful, and I hope that you guys are enjoying this conversation. It's been a good one today.
So the very first thing we want to do is we want to get blame, shame, and guilt out of the equation. This starts with changing the way we speak to our kids. So no matter what they've done, I want you to make this statement really neutral. So instead of you hurt your sister, it is now your sister is hurt. What should we do about it? Instead of look, you've broken the plate, you're going to change it to the plate is broken. What can we do about it? Keeping our statements really neutral with our kids will help with their resentment, will help with their anger, and will stop them feeling like we are attacking them all the time.
Who said that children that are growing up under gentle parenting cannot be tough, cannot be strong? Who said they're pushovers? I tell the twins, defend yourself if somebody's about to corner you, to hit you or kick you. If you have the option to get away from that and run to an adult, do it. But if not, defend yourself. Guess what? I've seen my twins not just defending themselves, but defending others as well.
Gentle parenting has gotten a lot of hate on this app in the last couple of months, and it's mostly been from people who wildly mistake gentle parenting for permissive parenting or for just speaking gently to your children all the time and never being stern or firm with your children, which none of that is true. But something happened with my barely 3-year-old daughter this morning that yet again proves to me that gentle parenting is the absolute best way to raise a child if you want them to learn emotional maturity, emotional regularity, self-control, and effective communication skills. My husband and I are going on a triple date tonight with 2 other couples, and we wanted to go to an upscale, very popular restaurant. So I call the restaurant and the line is busy. Okay, no big deal. I'm just going to try again. I called over 250 times. And in that process, I was getting more and more and more and more and more infuriated. For some reason, my speakerphone wasn't working, and so I could barely hear the busy signal. And so whenever Peyton started talking, I kept getting really triggered and being very short with her and saying, Peyton, I need you to just be quiet for a second. I'm trying to get through on this line. And she walks over to me, again, 3 years old, barely 3 years old, and says, Mommy, are you feeling frustrated? She just named my emotion for me, something I do with her on a regular basis. And I took a deep breath and I said, yes, Mommy is feeling really frustrated. And she said, what happened, Mama? What happened? And I said, well, I'm trying to call a restaurant and it's not working. So she identifies a need and tries to meet my need by saying, hey, I have an idea. You can try my phone. At this point, my heart is completely softening because I have a 3-year-old trying to help me stay emotionally regulated, keep my self-control, communicate effective with me, and help me figure out the situation. And I explained to her, well, baby, it's not my phone that's broken, it's Crush's phone that's broken, which is the restaurant. And she goes, well, I have another idea. We'll try Daddy's phone. And I said, that's a really good idea, and I'm so thankful that you're trying to help me, but Daddy's phone isn't going to help because it's Crush's phone that's broken. And she said, well, let's tell Alexa to set a timer for 5 minutes, and you can try again in 5 minutes. And at this point, I'm like, you are the sweetest thing I have ever known in my entire life, and I don't know what I would do without you. Many, if not most, adults don't know how to do the things that my 3-year-old just did with me. And it's because those are things that are modeled to her on a regular basis. Even though I was being short and even rude to her, she was so gentle and kind and helped me through and helped me get emotionally regulated at 38 years old. It's crazy. Gentle and respectful parenting absolutely does work. You just have to know what it actually is first, and then you have to do it properly, and it's amazing.
How on earth are kids who are gentle parented going to be able to survive the big tough world? How are they going to handle being in a classroom where they're not always treated kindly and gently and respectfully like they are at home? Let's talk about it. The other day, my child came home with this picture in her backpack of her crying. And I was like, hey, what's that about? You want to talk about it? And she said, yeah, a teacher got in my face and yelled at me at recess. And I was like, oh, okay, what happened? And she explained how I think the teacher was having a rough day and she took it out on me and she yelled at me right in my face, which is something she does not experience at home. And then she said that it made her mad, and she felt mad until quiet time where she was able to draw a picture about it, which helped take her mind off of it and, as she said, make the mad feeling go away. My child did not crumble when she was faced with disrespect. Instead, she was able to recognize, this isn't what I deserve, and this really doesn't have much to do with me. And then she was able to identify her mad feeling, feel her mad feelings, and then find a way to process those mad feelings and make them go away. So by the time I was picking her up from school, she was fine. She was over it. And had I told her in other scenarios to put her anger away and that she's not allowed to express those feelings in our home, she would not have the tools to process them or to feel comfortable feeling them, and she would likely store them in her body and act out later in the day. Not only are they going to survive the big tough world, they're going to thrive because they're not going to have to spend the majority of their adulthood healing from their childhood.
So some of you may have seen a video going around about how kids today lack emotional regulation because they get too much screen time. And this was done by a child care provider who's seeing a lot of kids going into school who just are throwing fits. So let's get into what might be going on. So we're going to use the example of 3 different kids. The adults get donuts for themselves. They don't give any to the kids, but the kids really want them. The first kid doesn't say a word, doesn't whine, doesn't whimper, keeps their eyes down, is 100% respectful, doesn't say a word. These are young kids, mind you. The second kid, there's a full-blown temper tantrum all day long, crying, whining, screaming, you name it. The third one asks if they can have one, and when they're told no, you see them just going, 1, 2, 3. So what's going on here? It's actually the first kid that I'm worried about. This may be a sign that a kid is afraid to express their feelings. I usually see this in kids who have had a lot of corporal punishment, who have been spanked. This is a trauma response. You don't express your wants, your desires. You shut up, you show respect, and that's it. So is the second kid just spoiled rotten because they get tons of screen time? No. What I'm seeing with the second kid is that they feel comfortable enough to be emotional around you, but don't yet have the skill set in order to self-regulate. So they need to learn that skill. The third kid has already gained that skill. On a generational level, a lot of millennials were raised in very punitive households where spanking was common. We learned not to say a word, but we didn't learn emotional regulation, which is why a lot of us have trauma and depression and anxiety because we didn't learn healthy coping skills. It's a step away from generational abuse, and it shows that the child is now in a safe enough environment to express their emotions. We're just missing the component of teaching them the skill set needed to actually regulate those emotions. And when we see this in really young children, it can be developmentally appropriate. It takes a while to develop those skills. So you need to be careful when comparing groups because you may be mistaking trauma for emotional regulation, and they're different. And if you notice Gen Z's kids are presenting with better coping skills, maybe that's because they were the millennials' kids and they took that next step to learn for themselves so they could pass it on to their children.
When you are mean to your children and tease them to the point that they cry constantly, you are not raising them to be tough. What you're really doing is raising a bully or a victim. You are actually creating the world that you say that your parenting style is meant to prepare your children for. When they end up in an unhealthy relationship, they are going to stick through it much longer than they really should because it's probably just them misunderstanding it. It has nothing to do with the actual person being mean. I just don't get the joke. Or they become the person who is unhealthy in the relationship, and rather than change, they're just going to continue gaslighting the other person because they just don't get the joke, and if they understood that you were playing around and laughed about it, everything would be fine. If you want to raise children who are resilient and tough, what you do is you support them as they deal with difficult things. You can put them in things that challenge them physically and mentally, like chess club, or sports, or martial arts, or art class, or have them try and pick up an instrument.
Let's talk about boundaries and consequences. I'm going to give you guys a real life scenario. Last night, Peyton was testing me a lot. She threw something on top of a glass table, so I told her, I won't let you throw things on this table. It's glass and it could break. If you want to throw something, we can get a ball. She didn't like it, so she reached over and she scratched me. It's normal when our kids do something like this for us to want to take drastic measures, but we have to understand in situations like this, she's just testing the boundary. She's trying to see if I'm going to give in. Am I going to be consistent? Do I mean what I say? So again, I calmly said, I won't let you scratch me either. That hurts. I can see that you're frustrated, and it's okay to feel frustrated. If you need to scratch something to work that out, scratch this pillow or this chair. But she reached over and she scratched me again. Again, she's testing the boundary. So I kindly put her down on the ground. I said, I can see that you're having a hard time not scratching me, so I'm going to walk away. When you're ready to be kind and gentle, I'll gladly hold you again. It didn't take long. You see, I gave her a natural consequence instead of a punishment. Let me know if this helped.
Take this, but you can take the Spider-Man or the fire truck. So which one would
The biggest critique that I find in my videos and in videos like this one are the commenters that say, that kid needs discipline, or I would never let any kid scream at me like that, or some form of those. The wild thing is that this is an example of a mom calmly setting a boundary and holding firmly to it, and still taking care of the emotions. So what those critiques really tell me are two things. One, a lot of people never became comfortable with big or difficult emotions, probably because they were never allowed to actually feel them. And two, the only form of discipline that these people know is spanking, yelling, intimidation. What they mean by discipline is beat your kid into obedience. Which all of this tells me just how important the work that we're doing is.
I have been hit in the face by my toddler, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I wanted to, but I actually don't want to traumatize her. So here's 3 things I did instead when my toddler used to hit me. Number 1, you gotta create safety for yourself and for any other children that are around, okay?
Duck, leave, block, go on the other side of the door, do whatever you have to do so that you don't get hit again.
Number 2, regulate your emotions, okay? Usa namyorenkeyo. I'm not gonna beat her ass. I'm not gonna beat her ass. Do whatever you gotta do to calm yourself down so that you can show your child emotional regulation, because that's what they need more of. They need to learn how to regulate their emotions and not hit. Model that, okay? Do whatever you have to do to calm yourself down. And then number 3, don't try to reason with them. Don't try to give them long, drawn out lectures, okay? Keep it really short and sweet by alternating between empathizing and setting limits, okay? I know this is gonna take time out of your day, and it's gonna feel like a lot when you're first doing it, but you love your child so much, and you know that if they're hitting, there's some really big feelings up underneath that, and you care about those feelings. You wanna help your child with those feelings, okay? So you're gonna say, I love you so much, but you can't hit me. I care about you and I'm right here. I'm not gonna leave you in this moment. Even though you're upset, I'm not gonna leave you. But you gotta keep your hands to yourself. I know, you're having a hard time. You're safe. But mommy has to be safe too. And then you're just gonna ride that storm out with your baby, okay? Now don't forget to block. Regulate your emotions. And then alternate between empathizing and setting limits. And after a while, those feelings are gonna come up either in the form of a cry or they're gonna tell you what's wrong so that you can figure out what the underlying need is so that they can meet that need. And they'll learn when I need something, when I'm hurting, when I'm struggling with something, this is a safe space and I can use my words. I don't have to hit mommy. Now it's gonna take some time, but look, I'm no longer dodging, hooks and stuff.
Fun fact, if you know about gentle, positive, and respectful parenting, I want you to know that's all a rebrand of authoritative parenting. And it's cute to see all these accounts giving you tips on how to talk and set a boundary, but you can't do that until you do the healing. The healing from what, you ask? Being raised by parents who are not authoritative. What are the other styles? Well, let's talk about. You have the authoritarian, aka the dictator. Do as I say, not as I do. Be quiet, don't have feelings. You have the permissive parent. I want to be your friend. Do whatever you want. I want you to like me. And I have no rules. And then there's neglectful. If you were raised by any of those three, you are really going to struggle, McFuggle, to be a gentle, positive, and respectful parent until you heal those wounds.
Everyday things you can do to teach your kids consent. Would you like a hug?
No.
Okay. Do you want to cuddle?
Yes.
Do you want help brushing your hair?
No thanks.
Okay. Would you like to talk about it?
No.
Okay. Can I send that picture to Daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? Do you want a hug?
Yeah.
Can I help you with your pants?
Yes.
Okay. Can I come in?
Yeah, you can come in.
Your hair looks okay, but come let me add these clips to it. Oh, your hair looks pretty. I have some clips if you want to add them. If you don't, that's fine too. Give me a hug. If you want to say hi, you can give me a thumbs up, a wave, or even a little dance. This is great artwork. I'm going to write your name on it and hang it up. This is great. Do you mind if I put your name on it? Should I write it on the front or the back? Is it okay for me to display your work? It really is important to give children the opportunity to flex their consent muscles every day. You start with the small things so that when the big things happen, they already have it down.
Well, actually, we have a system for treats. Can I explain to you what it is, and then we can all be on the same page? Hey, so I know you're really coming from a good place here. I know that it can be fun to shower your grandkids with love and even kind of spoil them a little bit, but we're not really on the same page right now, and it's kind of causing them some confusion. So could we talk this out, and could we get on the same page, please? You are so capable, and I know that it probably feels a little weird that we do things differently than how you did in the past, or maybe how you'd like to do it, but this is how we do things in our family, and I do need you to respect it, please. Hey, so it seems like the same issue about treats keeps coming up. What's going on with that? So this is just not a healthy dynamic that's going on between us, and what we need to do is focus on the kids, and the kids need consistency and clarity. I keep feeling a lot of pressure from you to do things your way, and it's making me uncomfortable. I am their parent. I really want us to have a healthy relationship. How can we do that?
You've been running around here, not following the rules. You're going to hurt someone else. You're going to hurt yourself. You need to go to timeout before you make me spank you. You need to go to timeout. Boy, I'm the parent. You are the parent. That means you have decades of experience in navigating your emotions, and you're still blaming me for them. And furthermore, weren't you the person who said that other people can't make us do anything and you're in control of your own choices? Yeah, but if you can't work through your own emotions, who's going to teach me to work through mine? Well, do you remember last week when we were driving 70 miles per hour on the highway and the speed limit was 55? You could have hurt us. You could have hurt someone else. Where was your timeout then? And do you remember when you were late for work? Yeah, because of traffic and the kid. You seem to be really good at making excuses for yourself when you don't meet expectations, but have a hard time extending that same kind of grace to me. Okay, I need a timeout.
Sweetie, here we go. Why don't we talk to Grandma and Grandpa? Do you want to go talk about it?
So it's very important that everyone that we invite into our lives be a safe person. And they need to be safe for our body and for our mind. And Grandma and Grandpa showed me that they are not safe people. Yeah, that's hard that you can't see them. So it's my job to keep you safe. And I do not trust them to be a safe person for you either. Yeah, it's not so much that I'm mad at them or that we're having a big fight. It's just that they have showed me that I cannot trust them with me. No, sweetie, it's not very likely that that will change. In order for that to change, they would have to show me that they can be trusted over and over and over, and I don't think they can do that. You can ask me anything.